Hey.
So the Cleveland Cavaliers have been a pretty unique and weird team to start the season. They might honestly be the weirdest team in the NBA right now, but there's a sense of kind of fun to them. Now, I'll be honest, I originally was gonna make this video about the Atlanta Hawks and how Trae Young could potentially be entering the MVP discussion this year, but they ended up losing to the Cleveland Cavaliers in a pretty close game, so I figured why not change tones and talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers for once. But for some brief context, pretty much, first night of the season, everyone was kind of like joking around, saying how the Cavs have all these bigs, they have a whole lot of height on their roster, it'd be funny if they played these lineups and these lineups. Then they come out night one and they actually give us a starting lineup of Darius Garland, Colin Sexton, Lauri Markkanen, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen. Which, as of now, I'm blanking on how tall exactly Lauri Markkanen is, but that's three, damn near 7-footers in one opening starting lineup, which, of course, was just weird. No one was quite really sure how exactly this would play out, and it's been interesting so far, but you have to give it to them that against the Atlanta Hawks, a team that looked really, really good in their first game against the Dallas Mavericks, the Cavaliers came to play. And I think the one big topic that resulted from that game that everyone, at least on my Twitter timeline, was talking about was, everyone was just absolutely hyping the fuck out of Evan Mobley after that game, during the game, for everything he was doing on the court. And for good reason. Obviously, it's very early on to this NBA season, let alone his NBA career, but Evan Mobley is already looking pretty generational. It still baffles me a little bit how people were so low on him come draft time, and between him and Jalen Green at the 2 and 3 spots, I personally preferred Mobley at 2 for the Rockets, but I'm not gonna, hold them accountable for that. But at the same time, I'm just curious how so many people saw Evan Mobley as a prospect, knew that he was going to be a generational defensive talent at some point pretty early on in his career. Hell, after a few games, he's already looking like he's getting there. But then you throw in the fact that even offensively, he really has no real holes in his game. So overall, he's just not really bad at a whole lot of things. So with that in mind, I don't know how so many people just looked past Evan Mobley again when they were, around draft time. Because in my humble opinion, if you look back at some of the other bigs that have been taken as top draft selections in recent history, look at even DeAndre Ayton, who was taken first overall in his class, picked over guys like Luka Doncic, Trae Young, who we've already mentioned in this video. I think it's fair to say that Evan Mobley was a better prospect than DeAndre Ayton coming out of college, and whether you agree with that or not, I think there's a case for it. Either way, Evan Mobley has been absolutely amazing to start off the season so far. Pretty much everything that you would want to see from the rookie in his first couple of games. Through those first 3 games, he's averaging a little under 16 points. He's got 8 rebounds, 3 assists, over a steal, and over 2 blocks a game, which is all just, again, tremendous numbers. But a few nuggets that have me even more excited about Evan Mobley is that offensively, you can tell that he's still trying to get used to expanding his range, and it's good to see that he's taking those shots confidently right now. Even if they're not going in all the time, it's definitely a good progress report that he is willing to take these shots now, because he should be able to hit them later, and that will just, again, make him even more of a deadly player. And then last point on Mobley is, on the defensive side of the ball, the Cavaliers, all their length, all their size, they've been playing this defense occasionally where they stick Evan Mobley at the top of the key and play kind of like a 2-3-3-2 type zone. And it's just unfair having a mobile 7-footer that can play at the top of the key. Even in the Hawks game, he was sticking with Trae Young on the perimeter and making life absolutely difficult as all hell for him to try and get a bucket. So yeah, again, just great stuff from Evan Mobley so far. From there, I just want to shout out Ricky Rubio really quickly, because he was traded to the Cavaliers in the offseason. It was seen as kind of like a veteran dump-off type move, but Ricky Rubio's a good basketball player. Even if he is playing completely out of his mind right now and will likely, regress back to earth eventually, the Cavaliers are getting the best out of what we like to call FIBA Rubio, because he usually goes off when he plays in, FIBA type games. But Rubio has been such a needed veteran presence at the guard spot for this team. He himself, he's averaging a little under 17 points and 9 assists, and most importantly, shooting 45% from three on almost 7 attempts per game, which is absolutely ridiculous for Ricky Rubio. But one thing that was a bit worrisome in the offseason before Rubio got to Cleveland was that, they had all these bigs with Jarrett Allen, Markkanen now, Evan Mobley, and people were worried about how these guys were going to get the ball and, be put into effective positions to get the ball and then make moves with the ball. Well, Darius Garland is easily a great playmaker, a good playmaker, at least a playmaker on the rise. Bringing on Ricky Rubio just added an extra layer of certainty to that situation, bringing on a point guard who is well known in the basketball community for being one of the best setup guys just to ever play the game. And overall, his additions to this team so far have just been amazing. Ricky Rubio stays solid as ever. I really hope that he's able to keep this up, although I doubt it. But yeah, we always got love for Ricky Rubio here. Now, onto some quicker points. Colin Sexton continues to just be solid as ever. I know his contract situation is a bit messy right now with the Cavs. Don't really seem like they want to pay him, which means he'll likely be traded at some point this season. And all I have to say on that is that whichever team is able to pick up Colin Sexton is going to get a really, really good offensively minded guard. I mean, even to start off this season, he's not been playing absolutely great by any means, but he's still averaging over 20 points per game on some not so great shooting efficiencies. And he's even shown some improvement in his playmaking department, which if he's able to maintain that, he's going to be one of the better offensive guards in the league over the next couple of years. And speaking of being inefficient on the offensive side of the ball, one name that just has to be talked about when talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers is Lauri Markkanen. A lot of people, myself included, were a little bit shocked to see the Cavaliers trade away Larry Nance, who is a very, very formidable player who can help your team win in many different aspects of the game, and they gave him up for Lauri Markkanen, someone who is supposed to be this good offensive player, could come off the bench and maybe give you 15, 20 points on any given night and just be a good spark plug scorer. But it's been the same old Lauri Markkanen. So far in the first 3 games, he's averaging a little under 12 points per game. He's shooting 30% from the field, 28% from 3. And it's just been so hard to watch because they're trying to get this big starting lineup to work with Markkanen at the 3, but if he's not going to deliver on offense, he's not going to be doing anything for you on defense for sure. So he's just kind of a double negative out there, and that's not someone you want to have in your starting lineup. If anything, it's disrespectful in my opinion that Markkanen is still getting the starting nod and more minutes than Isaac Okoro, someone who consistently delivered and played really, really good basketball for the Cavaliers a season ago. I, for one, would love to see Okoro get back into the starting lineup. I think he's played really well. I think he has earned it. The jump shot is still a little wishy-washy here and there, but when it comes to playing around guys like Sexton and Garland and Mobley and Allen now, I think Okoro's ability to cut and just be open for these playmakers to pass him the ball, because I think Mobley, Garland, can, and even especially Rubio, can all get him the ball when he's making his cuts. And that's where Okoro thrives. He's also just a great defender, which is something that Lauri Markkanen will probably never be able to give you at that small forward 3 position. So yeah, we definitely need some more Isaac Okoro in these Cavaliers games. And then one last point I want to make about the Cleveland team and just how it's been really weird but sort of interesting, but again just really weird, is Kevin Love. Because so far this season, he's actually been healthy. He's playing a little over 20 minutes a night. And I mean, he's still a solid basketball player. Definitely not producing anywhere near that his contract would suggest he should. But I'm intrigued by him coming off the bench and again just being a veteran presence for some younger guys like Markkanen, Mobley, and Allen to just learn from. Because Kevin Love has a lot of skills that could be passed on. He still has one of the greatest rebounding stretches that we've seen from any player in league history. He can knock down the deep shots. He's actually turned himself into a pretty good playmaker that I feel like doesn't get talked about enough when people talk about Kevin Love and what he can add to a team. But at the end of the day, I just can't see any other scenario other than Kevin Love either being traded or bought out at the deadline for another team to pick him up. Because at this point, Cleveland has enough bigs. Kevin Love is just kind of an afterthought on this offense, on this entire team in general. But it has been nice for Kevin Love to watch him showcase his abilities, and probably will definitely get picked up if he's ever waived or again traded at any point this season. There are plenty of teams who could use a skilled big like Kevin Love on their roster. So overall, Cavaliers still not a great team by any means. They're probably going to lose a whole lot this year. But again, like a lot of the bad teams in the NBA, they're still very much capable of knocking off one of the better teams in the league on any given night, as we just saw them do against the Atlanta Hawks. And again, I think what makes this Cavaliers team so interesting and a must-see team sometimes is because they're doing things just very unorthodox with a whole bunch of bigs in their starting lineups and just on the roster in general. And it's been interesting. And if you've made it to this point in the video, then congratulations, you're a real one. Now, if you enjoyed this video, maybe think about hitting the subscribe button. Should be somewhere in this general direction. Or if you're not sure yet, maybe check out another video which should be in this general direction. Either way, thank you for watching.